Hello students, I'm Professor Achal and I'm going to talk about techniques of selection in this video. But before moving further, I just want to make this thing very clear that the two words, that is techniques and the process, techniques of selection and the process of selection, both the concepts and the terminologies are quite different from each other. Why I am emphasizing on this thing is why, because most of you and most of the students get confused that we already studied the process of selection, then what is the requirement of studying techniques of selection? Yes, because techniques are the core methods, core tools that we use to select the candidate, and process is a kind of procedure, a step-by-step procedure that we have to follow while selecting a candidate. So we can say that techniques or the methods are derived from the process, and in this video we are going to talk about those techniques and those methods. So here, selection techniques are divided into three main categories: interview, assessment centers, and psychological test. So interview, what are interviews? Everybody knows this is the very common used selection technique or selection method. But here we are going to talk about different types of interviews which are conducted to judge the candidate. Basically, in interviews, in interview method, the physical appearance, confidence, communication skills are just. And second is assessment center. Assessment center, basically the behavior of the candidate is assessed by using different exercises and different tools. We check here whether the candidate suits to the organizational environment or the requirement of the job or not. And if we talk about the psychological test, then this word psychology itself says that we test or we measure the mental state of the candidate by using different tools and techniques and different tests. So we are going to talk about all these three techniques one by one. So firstly, we'll talk about interviews. So there are different types of interviews. First is individual interview, which is a face-to-face discussion between interviewer and the interviewee, which is one-to-one, right? Where the interviewer and the viewee can come into close contact of each other, and they can, interviewer can judge his confidence, his communication in such interviews. Second one is interviewing panel. When we talk about panel, then panel comprises of two or more persons. So basically, when two or more people gather together to interview one candidate, it may be described as interviewing panel. Third one is selection boards. Selection boards are basically more formal types of interviews where large number of senior persons, or you can say higher authorities, are involved to take selection decision. So these are the three different types of interviews. Third, then we talk about assessment centers. Now, assessment center, as I told you, that in this type of technique, we used to apply different exercises and different tools to judge the behavior, to judge the different capabilities of the candidate. So here are some features of the assessment centers. First is the focus of the center is on behavior. As I told you, the behavior of the candidate is assessed. Exercises are used, like different types of exercises and different kinds of tools such as role play, group exercises are used to judge the candidate at individual level as well as at group level. Then performance is measured in different dimensions by giving him different kind of exercises, by putting the candidate into different type of situations. Several candidates or participants are assessed together to allow interaction, like some kind of GD, group discussions, debates are conducted just to judge the candidate's capabilities and his responses. Then several assessors, many in this assessment center technique, senior managers or some observers and several types of assessors are present during the assessment time, so that they would be able to measure the performance of the candidate during these exercises and during these role plays and tools, whichever whatever is performed by the interviewer viewing. Next is, assessment centers provide good opportunities for indicating the extent to which candidates match the culture of the organization. Yes, here basically this is also measured that whether the candidate is compatible to the organization culture or not, whether he would be able to adapt. So in one word, the adaptability of the candidate is also judged in this assessment center technique. An assessment center also gives candidates a better feel for the organization and its values by going through lots of exercises, lots of role plays, and so many interactions with the organization people. He comes to feel or to have an idea about the organization culture and organizational values. So he himself can correlate, or himself can decide whether he or she is compatible to the organization culture, he will fit to the job or to the environment or not. So this is about assessment center. Now comes psychological test. Third technique is psychological test, which is defined by Smith and Robertson as a carefully chosen, systematic, and standardized procedure for evolving a sample of responses. This is the main line: sample of responses from candidates, which can be used to assess one or more of their psychological characteristics with those of the representative sample of the appropriate population. Basically, in psychological test, various kind of exercises, various kind of scales, questions, questionnaires are given to the candidates, and then whatever they respond to those questionnaires, to those exercises, to those problems, so those responses will be measured to judge his overall personality, his overall behavior. Then the purpose of the psychological test is to provide an objective means of measuring individuals' abilities or characteristics. Now, psychological test will be divided into different kinds of categories. Like first we'll talk about intelligence test. As I told you initially also, that in psychological tests we use different types of tests to judge the mental state of the candidate, whether he is compatible or whether he is capable, fit, mentally fit or not. So firstly, we'll talk about intelligence test. Intelligence is defined by Toples et al. As the capacity for abstract, and basically it focuses on abstract thinking and reasoning, how much your reasoning capabilities are, strong. Next is personality test. Personality, I think you must have read in your organization behavior subject, or you will study further in OB. Personality basically talks about the overall behavior, mental state, and other characteristics of the candidates. Personality test attempts to assess the personality of candidate in order to make predictions about his or her likely behavior in a role. So it is a very famous concept, that is big five personality traits. Traits are basically the characteristics that we use to find, we try to find out the presence of such characteristics in the candidate. So firstly we'll talk about agreeableness. Agreeableness concerned with trust, cooperation, altruism, sympathy, how much the candidate is having such kind of things like trust, cooperative, sympathy, moralism. Second is extraversion. Extraversion means how much there are two kind of people in this world. One is extrovert, one is introvert. So extrovert are very much familiar, they open up with the person very quickly, but introvert doesn't open up, they're not very much friendly, they expect others to come and talk to them first. So extroversion is also being judged, like how much the person is friendliness, how much he is enthusiastic, excited, cheerful, right? Third one is consciousness, how much the person is dutiful, how much he is concerned, very much disciplined, cautious towards his responsibilities. Then fourth one is neuroticism, or we can also call emotional stability. Now, this is also very important trait where, like as I told you, that stress or depressive situation. If I talk about the depressive and stress situation, then how the, because in every job, it is not like every time you will get in smooth situation. So how you will gonna react in the stressful situation, this is being judged. So candidates anxiety, anger, depression, self-consciousness, these things will be judged in emotional stability, how much the person is emotionally stable. Last one is openness to experiences, how much the person is creative, how much he is versatile, how much he is ready to accept the challenges, how much he is artistic interest, emotionality, how much he is adventurous, right? So all these five personality traits, we judge the overall personality of the candidate. Next is ability test. Ability test measure job related characteristics such as number, verbal, perceptual, and mechanical ability. Different kind of abilities are judged in this ability test by putting the candidate into different kind of situations. The next is aptitude test, which is, I think everybody must be aware about this word aptitude test, where the is clerical aptitude, numerical aptitude, mechanical aptitude, and all is judged. And the last one is attainment test. Attainment test measures abilities or skills that have already been acquired by training or experience. For example, suppose you went for an interview and you just say that I have a good typing skills, or I'm coming from a background, or I have a corporate experience where I did a lot of typing, so I'm very much smooth in that. So now his that experience, that training will be checked. So he will be given some sort of typing exercise just to check his typing skill. So I think we are done with this. Thank you so much.